Thursday afternoon here on Kaplan and Crew, and Hammer time. Hank Bauer about to join us. Hammer is being brought to us by Corky's Pest Control, 1-800-901-1102. I told you this story about having Corky out here this week, not actual Corky, like Corky's people. And I was telling him that my son said there was a family of rats that were living in our backyard. And he's like, I see them. They're always going across. And I'm like, I never see these freaking things, okay? And my son said to the Corky's guy, he goes, if I'm being completely honest, I kind of let my dog go chase him around, you know? So he told me, he goes, well, I haven't seen them. There's none of them in the traps. He's like, so I'm going to go set some traps in some other places. Cause I said to him, I go, yeah, dude, I think there's a mouse that comes into my garage and takes a dump on my seat of my bike. And I'm like, why would this mouse climb up on my bike and dump on my seat? I don't understand it. And so anyway, the Corky's guy was here. He's like, I got this all handled. You'll never see him. Don't worry about it. Hank Bauer being presented by Corky's Pest Control, 1-800-901-1102. Here he is, the former player, coach, broadcaster of the then San Diego Chargers, and now national radio broadcaster of NFL football games, Hammer and Hank Bauer. Hi, Hank.
I'm so excited to be with you guys. I'm fired up, man. I'm getting on a plane to Denver this weekend.
Got the Broncos.
Chiefs and Broncos, yeah.
Is this going to be your first time watching the Chiefs this year, or did you get them before?
No, I had them against the Chargers.
Not their best game?
Pardon me?
Not their best game, but they still won?
Right. Well, that's what they do. They find ways to win, AP. And I had the Broncos against Tampa Bay and Denver a while back. So I know both teams. The crazy thing about this weekend's game for me is tomorrow it's going to be or Saturday, it's going to be 65 and sunny. And then the forecast for Sunday, you ready for this, you guys? A high of 25 degrees, 60% chance of snow.
Oh, man.
That sounds like fun, man.
What?
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, that's spoken from a guy from Chicago. You know,
Yeah.
John, I grew up on a farm in western Nebraska, a little place called Scotts Bluff, 16,000 people, which is probably 3 or 4 hours away from Denver. So I understand the weather, but I'm soft, you know.
Yeah.
I've lived here too long.
Yeah, I mean, Browner, I'm a tropical brother. I don't really, I'm not into the cold weather, man. I mean, maybe if I'm going skiing or something.
Hey, but listen, I'm an equator brother myself, but at the same time, you know.
Equator brother.
Yeah. But even though at the same time, I like to watch the seasons change. A little leaf fall, a little snow, a little rain every now and then, you know, to remind you Mother Nature's still out there and kicking. This here is artificial.
Yeah. You know what? And here's the funny thing about that game. That might work to Denver's advantage because, you know, who's the fastest team maybe in history of the NFL? It's got to be these Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, if you're running 4 or 5, you can't even try out. I mean, it's ridiculous. They get even, they're leaving.
Would you say that Rams team, the greatest show on turf, was faster than this team, or is this Chiefs team?
No, man, this is that's faster. This is faster than Rams.
Tyreek Hill just makes every team faster.
I've never seen a team this fast. And that's why they're favored by 9.5 points in Denver. But, you know, you think about Denver starting out. What's your impressions? Like, you guys, have you seen the Denver Broncos?
Just saw them beat New England last week on 6 field goals.
Okay, there you go. But what's your impressions, you guys?
My impressions are they're just mediocre, middle of the road, average, don't have a star quarterback, although they think they've got a guy they like. They just seem very 3-3-ish to me.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. You know, they started 0-3, right? But they started against teams that were a combined 14-2 already. So they had a 2-point loss to the Tennessee Titans, who were 5-0, right? They lost by 2 to the Titans. They lost by 5 to the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh, right? Steelers are 5-0. And that's a great game, by the way, this weekend, Pittsburgh and Tennessee. And then they lost at home to Tampa Bay, and we were there for that game. You know, I think they lost by 8. But they, you know, got a punt blocked in early, and that kind of changed that game. So I'm not sure who, you know, I know Denver's better than what you think 2-3 is. They've won the last 2. Yeah, they won. You saw the game. They won in New England. They beat the Jets before that. Big deal. Does that count? So they really should be, 1.5 and 3.
I'm not a big fan of Vic Fangio as a head coach either. What do you think of him?
Here's a guy, Fangio, man. This guy's been coaching 40-some years.
Yeah.
He started out as a high school coach. He's been a coordinator for like 5 different teams, defensive coordinator, and had success. He had success with the Bears, and he's had success on great teams when Houston was making a run, and he's had success. But this is at age 45 or whatever he is, got his first ever head coaching job at any level, which is he was an assistant head coach in Baltimore with Harbaugh and those guys. So he's been around, he's done it, he knows it. I think the issue that Denver has had early in this season, they've Drew Lock, the quarterback, that's their guy, who, by the way, is from Kansas City. He's the Kansas City lifer Kansas City Chief fan, and the number 1 choice or number 2 choice 2 years ago, started as a rookie, got hurt this year. They've gone through 3 quarterbacks. It's just so you factor in all these different things, and I'm trying to convince myself why this is going to be such a close game and a great game, and the weather being the great equalizer, maybe slowing down Kansas City's speed. Kansas City's ridiculous.
What about Kansas City? Because they obviously Patrick Mahomes is ridiculous. Tyreek Hill's fast. Travis Kelce's great. But against Buffalo, what they run for 275 yards, and now they're adding Le'Veon Bell on top of that. So to say slow down, yeah, but all of a sudden, if this team can run the ball too now, like who's going to stop them?
Right. I mean, I agree. They're loaded. They don't have any weaknesses. Top to bottom, all 3 phases of the game, they're great. So that's why they're world champions.
Yeah, really.
It kills me when you think about how they won it last year. Every playoff game Kansas City was in, they were down by 10 points or more last year. So that's the downside. The plus side is if you're a Chiefs person, they have the wherewithal to come back. And I'm sorry, Patrick Mahomes, you can list every quarterback in the history of the NFL through, I don't know how many, 37 games I think he's started, whatever it's been. He is the best quarterback statistically, better than everyone. Dan Marino, you name it. He's better than Drew Brees. He's better than all of them.
You're saying record-wise? Are you saying record-wise and stats-wise?
Yeah.
Like fastest to like
statistically. I mean, his passer rating is like 110 career through 37 starts. He's thrown 91 touchdowns, and only like 14 interceptions, 17 or 27 interceptions. I'm not sure, but a ridiculously low amount of interceptions to touchdowns. Yeah. He's a great runner. He manages games. He's the best player in the league.
Let's talk about that for a second. We're talking to Hank Bauer this afternoon here on Kaplan and Crew. So whether you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on Facebook or you're listening on the audio podcast platforms, or if you're out there listening on the radio, Hank Bauer is here. Hank, talk to us about the situation in Miami. I'm so curious about this.
Wow.
So I'm trying to put it together that if you're the Dolphins, you drafted Tua because you think he's going to be a star, and you had Fitzmagic because you thought he was going to be a Band-Aid. Fitzmagic is in Miami what Tyrod Taylor was supposed to be for the Chargers. Just a holdover, just a little Band-Aid for however long it lasts. But the Dolphins are 3-3. Fitzmagic has won a couple of really big games. He's standing on the sideline last week cheering as Tua gets his first action, and the fans are going crazy. And a week later, the Dolphins are replacing Fitzmagic with Tua. In my mind, I'm thinking, well, the Dolphins must feel like the Patriots aren't the Patriots anymore. The Bills aren't as good as people might have thought they were going to be. The Jets are obviously horrible. But if we have Tua and he becomes the star we think he could be, if we put him in now, maybe we can win this division this year. What do you think about taking this kid, throwing him out there when you've got a veteran who seems to be a heart and soul guy? What do you think about what the Miami Dolphins did this week?
Well, yeah, let's start with Fitzpatrick. He's been amazing. What is he, 15, 16, 17 years in the league already. I've broadcast a number of his games. When he's good, man, and he's good most of the time, he's really good. But when he's bad, for some reason, he is just Trubisky-like. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. You're fine. I've seen enough. I know. I've seen some.
You've seen enough? Hey, by the way, who was drafted in that draft a couple years ago? 2nd overall, and who was drafted like 10th overall?
Listen, Trubisky
I think Trubisky was drafted by the Bears, and I think Mahomes was drafted by the Chiefs 10th.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't forget about Deshaun Watson.
We all know the unfortunate situation that the Chicago Bears got themselves in at quarterback by passing on Patrick Mahomes and my quarterback Deshaun Watson.
But at least they didn't stay with their mistake, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
And I think that's a sign of a good organization and a good head coach. So that takes me back to Miami. I saw, honestly, first time I've watched Kyler Murray for a full game the other night. This kid's spectacular, isn't he? I mean, he's buried in Arizona, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, all right, now you got a guy, if you can just learn to manage games, not lose games. That's rule number 1 for any quarterback. Don't lose the game. But he has a potential like only a few quarterbacks are blessed with. He can actually win games without a lot of help. He's got that kind of talent. At least it appeared to me that way. Then again, it was Dallas, right? I mean,
that's Bert's Super Bowl pick.
Yeah. Oh goodness. And so I think Tua has maybe the potential. And again, I haven't seen him. Nobody's seen him.
Right.
So why not roll the dice, right? Why not?
And they obviously see something in Tua. Obviously, not where they drafted him, but you don't make this change unless he's super impressive in practice or somewhere.
Bingo. You're right on the mark.
But hey,
right on the mark. See, we don't know it because we haven't seen it, but these guys have seen it every trip of the train every day.
Hank, I asked this question to Bert Grossman. I'll ask the same question to you. You're at these games. You're watching sideline preparation. You have a lot of in-depth analysts on a lot of these teams. Do you think the Dolphins literally just did this because they see Joe Burrow out there being above average, and then you watch Justin Herbert look like a superstar, and then they've got their guy, and they're just letting them get mothballs all over, and they go, no. Our guy's supposed to be better than those two. Let's get him out there.
Why not? Why not get him out there? Again, they've watched him. They drafted him. They committed to him. He's their future. Why not get him out there? If he's not ready physically or mentally for whatever reason, you still got the best backup guy ready to go in Fitzpatrick that knows the offense. He's already been there. People believe in him.
Right.
It's perfect. It's a perfect
I look at it this way.
situation.
I look at it this way. The days of the traditional, predominantly white, drop back passing quarterback.
Now, why'd you have to use the race thing?
Because it's true. I mean, pocket passers were traditionally white guys. You know, they were big, tall, 6'4", 225 pounds. That was a prototypical drop back pocket passing quarterback. And for a period of time, that's who teams drafted. They wanted those styles of quarterbacks. But the days of Tom Brady and Phillip Rivers, those guys, that style of play is gone. Even Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees move around a whole lot more than Rivers and Brady do. But if Fitzpatrick fits into that previous style, that previous generation stylistically, and Tua fits into the futuristic style of Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson, if Tua fits that mold, and you've got one of those guys on your roster who played at Alabama and won a national title, and he's a left-handed quarterback, freaking put him on the field. So I think it makes all the sense in the world. Plus, they've got a bye week, and then when the bye week is over, they play the Rams.
Scott, you're right on the mark. You're right on. By the way, I played with the first African-American starting quarterback, a guy named James Harris from Grambling University. James Larnell Harris, teammate of Charlie Joyner at Grambling University. And he was big, prototypical. He was a drop back passer.
Yeah, back then, right.
You know what I'm excited for, guys?
Hey, listen, by the way, real quick, look at how guys have to adjust. So by the way, if you're a white guy quarterback today, you've had to learn how to become a different kind of player. You have to be Ryan Tannehill. You have to be Josh Allen. You have to be Herbert. you've got to be able to run, you know?
Yeah, and they're all coming out of spread offenses in college now. I mean, you look back, even Alabama. Think about the history of Alabama. You know, it was all about the running back. It was all about, you know, playing defense and running the football. Now, you know, look at all the wide receivers coming out of Alabama. They're throwing the ball all over the place. Right?
Alex, what were you saying?
So, you're right. Quarterbacks are more well equipped coming out for the passing game in the NFL.
You brought up adjustments, and it's something that I'm excited to see adjustment-wise. A lefty quarterback in the NFL. I can't remember last time we saw a good lefty quarterback, maybe Steve Young, because Matt Leinart was not very good.
Steve Young.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Vick.
Oh, I forgot about Mike Vick.
Oh, man, Michael
What
Vick.
y'all doing?
By the way, Michael Vick, the fastest quarterback in the history of the game, bar none.
Did you see the 30 for 30 on Mike Vick?
Here we go.
I did not.
Oh, yeah. Me and Alex did neither. We were watching the World Series, but Browner watched it last night.
Look, man, Michael Vick is a transcendent athlete at the quarterback position. I would argue that Lamar Jackson is faster, but it's hard to tell.
Hey, Browner, when you're saying I thought you were going somewhere else.
Oh, man. No, don't do that. Don't do that to Vic.
Hey, Hank, let me ask you this. Tonight is Thursday.
Who cares? Eagles, Giants.
Right. Let me ask you this. Tonight, when the Eagles and Giants are playing and the final presidential debate will be airing, Trump versus Biden, are you more inclined to watch the presidential debate, assuming it'll be more entertaining and more action-packed, or are you inclined to watch the NFL game between Philly and New York, where combined these two teams are like 2-9-1? I mean, they're terrible teams. Presidential debate, football game.
Scott, simple as this. I'll be swinging my Callaway golf clubs at Singing Hills until dark, and then I'm taping the debate, and I'll pick up the bits and pieces of the football game. How's that?
I'm surprised you even can go bits and pieces, man. And I don't know that many people that are going to do bits and pieces outside of New York and Philly.
It's my job. It's my job. It's my job.
I'm looking forward to the debate, and I'm not trying to make a joke, but I just saw in the commercial a raw footage of Trump walk out of the 60-minute interview that somebody released
yesterday. Yeah,
with the muted mic rule. Like, is he down to like walk out of a debate if it's not going his way?
Yes.
Like, I'm curious to see if he actually do it.
No.
Yeah,
because they're already, dude. I don't know if you guys already saw the articles. Like, whoever's moderating, like their parents gave money to Obama administration, and they're already preparing for like a very slanted left debate moderator. So I don't know. I don't think he'll walk out, but I think there is lots of things to watch for.
Leslie Stahl is one of the most traditional, center of the road interviewers that exist in our current media. And he just walked off on her because she said to him, your rallies are smaller than they used to be. That's it.
I'll tell you who he didn't walk out on. I'll tell you who he didn't walk out on. He didn't walk out on Jason Whitlock. I got an email yesterday from Outkick.com, which has kind of positioned themselves to be the conservative sports content guys. And they went out and they hired Jason Whitlock, who's probably the second biggest LeBron hater behind Browner. And Jason Whitlock sat with President Trump, and I literally was like, this has got to be an SNL bit that I'm watching right here. There's no way. And Trump is going, I know you. I know who you are. Like, and I was like, what? Like, Jason Whitlock wasn't there to interview or ask questions. He was there to tell the president about himself and say, I'm black in America. I support you. So does 50 Cent. So does Kanye. So does Ice Cube. Like, hey, Mr. President, do you feel like there's a shift happening in America where more black folks are supporting you? I mean, he just literally sat there and threw softballs to Trump. I was pretty surprised. I wasn't surprised that Whitlock got access to Trump because the guy Clay Travis, who runs that company, had gained access to Trump somehow. Anyway. Hank, you got a few more minutes?
Yeah, just a couple grumpy old men debating today. By the way, speaking of which,
yeah,
can
okay,
we?
Yeah, let's do that. let's tell everybody what we got going on, because finally Grumpy Old Men is going to come to life,
wait.
even on life support.
It's going to be called Grumpy Old Men for real?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about it.
All right, hold on, everybody. Okay, Hank Bauer is here with us today on Thursday. He's being presented by Corky's Pest Control, 1-800-901-1102. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. I will throw a shout out to our man, Gary Cooper, Mountain Trust Mortgage and Realty Services, who called me and said, hey, Cork's calling. That's your man. I know. I'm like, hey, listen, Gary, you take care of everybody just perfectly, brilliantly, et cetera. But when you get Cork on the line, Cork wants to refinance. Cork's got a lot of friends, and Cork likes to tell people. So, listen, these are two great companies, kind of work hand in hand with this show. You need to refinance, and you want to save money, and you want to get that interest rate under 2.5%. In some cases, you call our guy, Gary Cooper, 858-376-1299, like Corky did, 858-376-1299. Hammer, just before we hit the last break, you mentioned Grumpy Old Men. I got to just reset this for everybody. Grande, that when we were back in the old days of 1090, I kept trying to sell internally to all of our management and our salespeople that Hank Bauer and Kurt Bavacqua together as a podcast would be incredible. And of course, back then, the sales guys were like, we don't know what podcasting is. How do we sell such a thing? Now, of course, we don't need those guys. We do it all ourselves. I have convinced, I believe, along with Browner's help, that Hank Bauer and Kurt Bavacqua will become a podcast that becomes a radio broadcast. It will happen in early November, and it will be called Grumpy Old Men, just because when you laughed at that and thought that was funny, that's the reason it's called Grumpy Old Men. Hank Bauer, your feelings on the Grumpy Old Men podcast / radio broadcast.
Get off my frickin' lawn. Okay. Look at Kurt. I want everybody to go on YouTube and search Kurt Bavacqua, Tommy Lasorda meltdown. That'll give you insight on who Kurt Bavacqua is. Right.
That should be like your show open somehow. You got to incorporate that show. And
then people know me, right? I'm probably the tamer of the two. Kurt's really outspoken. He's older than I am, by the way, and he's grumpier. So
way grumpier,
grumpier.
But you talk about the history of San Diego sports, and I mean we lived it at all levels, right? For the last 45 years. I came down here in 1977, so I think it's going to be fun to cover the baseball, the football, and when both of us have a lot of golf connections, a lot of different sports, but it's not just sports. Look, this is not Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady either. I mean, this is Kurt Bavacqua and Hank Bauer.
Wait, now Browner, make a prediction for me, because I already have made up my mind, but I'll be curious to hear what you think. As someone who will have to work hand in hand with Hank and Kurt to produce this show, Browner, who do you suspect is going to be more difficult, more high maintenance? Who do you think? Is it Hank or is it Kurt?
Oh, Kurt. I can already tell it's Kurt. I can already tell it's Kurt. Hank, what are you doing? I can already tell it's Kurt, man.
Just want to make sure.
It's just our conversation yesterday alone gave me the impression that he's going to need a little more attention than Hank, just to kind of get him to the table to do it. So, I mean, I think it's going to be fun. I think one of the reasons why this is such an attractive thing, because these guys have such a large history in sports, and most importantly, sports here in San Diego. And to hear them kind of talk about what's currently happening, in addition to what they've done, I'm pretty sure there'll be some great stories involved. Listen, Kirk's not going to not say something, and I think that's going to be interesting. And we know Hank tries his best to always not have a filter. So, and I'm probably going to get some golf tips.
Yeah, I was yesterday. Kurt was like, well, dude, I need like several hours and I've got to have all my papers and my notes. And I've got
what?
And I go, Kurt, this show will go so fast between you and Hank. There will be no research needed. What's going on now? What happened back then? Tell people the stories that they all want to hear. Two San Diego sports icons getting together as grumpy old men is hilarious. But I can tell you right now, Kurt is going to be a pain in the ass, Hank.
I'm used to that. Okay. I've been in this business a long time. You know, I've had some long-time play-by-play partners that were pretty high maintenance. Of all my play-by-play partners, you know, Larry Kahn included, who I love, right? Who I'm working with now. Ted Leitner, to me, we got to fit Ted in here somehow, like G3 or something, Grumpy 3.
Yeah.
Ted's maybe my favorite of all time. My favorite Ted story was right after 9/11. You know, all of the emotional stuff we all went through, right? The highs and lows. Ted and I were broadcasting Charger games. Ted was also finishing baseball season. So he'd been traveling every week, working every day, you know, and so, you know, Ted comes in, and Ted's the best. He's the best to work with. But we're doing a game in Dallas after taking a week off after 9/11, justifiably so. And Ted misidentifies their top receiver like twice. Well, rule number one is you never correct the play-by-play guy, right? You're a color analyst. You just so after the first time in the break, I said to Ted, I said, "Hey Ted, that was actually, you know, it'd be like misidentifying Jerry Rice. You know, I don't know who the receiver was at the time for Dallas." And I went, "Ted, by the way, that was," and he said, and he looked at me, and he took it for some reason. You know, Ted was tired and he was beat up, and he looked at me. So then he did it again. And so I tried to just like slide it in for accuracy's sake, say, well, that was actually so-and-so. We get to the break. Ted looks at me and goes, oh, no, on the air, he says right away, he goes, oh, so now the color analyst is correcting the long-time play-by-play voice, right? You know, and you never, and you know, and I'm going, okay, whatever, right? But it pissed me off. We get to the break. I throw my frickin' headset down. I break it, right? And I said, let me tell you something. The first time I respected you, you made the same mistake twice. I tried to do it respectfully. And I said, you say one effing word, I'm going to throw you out of this booth right now. I said, I'm going to kick you, blah, blah, blah. And I was hot, man. I was livid, right? From that point on, Ted and I have been best friends. Best friends. And I think he was just exhausted. He was tired. He was irritable. He was a grumpy old man.
All right.
So that's one of my.
All right.
And so at some point later that season, just to get back at Ted, because I put it in my vault, right? He said something like, he said something about something. I said, so Ted, 6 divorces and how many kids? 6 divorces and 8 kids? And he goes, yeah. And I go, after 5, did you ever think it might be you? And he laughed, and Ted's the best.
Okay, so here's the thing. So if grumpy old men are going to be Hank Bauer and Kurt Bavacqua, there's no doubt that Ted Leitner should be a guest on the Grumpy Old Men show.
100%.
Okay, so Hank, did you think to yourself, okay, wait a second, just I'm me and he's him? And if you just do the tail of the tape, I'd say Ted's a little bit taller than you are.
Yeah.
He's quite a bit heavier than you are.
Yeah.
Okay. And when it comes to actual hand-to-hand combat, Ted, as I recall, Alex, maybe you'll back me up on this. I think I recall this, but Ted's like a black belt in karate.
I remember something. I remember him being a black belt in something. I don't remember if it was karate or whatever.
Yeah, that Browner, that was karate. That's the way those of us that actually work in those circles of professional martial artists.
Mixed martial arts.
What are you getting at?
Yeah. So what I'm getting at, Hank, is
he would have whooped you, Hank. He would have whooped you.
What I'm getting at is
smoke.
You threaten the guy to throw him outside of the booth. I'm going to throw you out of the booth. You're taller, you're heavier, you are a black belt in karate, and you, Hank, hey, I'm a former running back who would go fly down on kickoffs and just put my head into a brick wall. I jump over the top. I score a touchdown. I coached and yelled at people. I will take you, Ted Leitner, and I will throw you out of this broadcast booth right now. At no point were you concerned that he knew karate and could maybe, just choke you out.
No. Now, here's the thing. First of all, it wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have done it. I don't believe in fighting. I believe in defending myself. And here's the deal. I don't know what would have happened had it gotten to that, but I do know this. He would have had to freaking kill me to beat me.
See, that's why I choose Hank over any old man that I know. I'm not calling you an old man, but like Hank, when he gets
What are you laughing at?
when you get
I love that.
when you get upset, dude, like I've seen Hank mad, I think once in the old 1090, and I would never choose anybody. I wouldn't even choose myself over Hank when he's mad. Hank would easily destroy me.
Look, I'm not a fighter. Again, I don't want to fight anybody.
That's what fighters say. That's what fighters say.
But what I'm saying is the inner R5 comes out in me. You want to explain that?
The inner R5?
Yeah, R5. It's you count on the kickoff team. We count like from the outside in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my spot for every year was the right side, the guy next to the kicker. Right?
Which meant you were going to go screaming down the middle of the field.
You're the wedge breaker. You're a guy that's going to you're seeking and destroying. You're the first guy in.
All right, so it really just comes down to football badass and crazy man
From the mean streets of Anaheim.
right?
Or West Anaheim.
Versus Uncle Teddy, and his grandmaster and all the training he did. And, it's just.
And by the way, the reason I laughed at Grumpy Old Men was not because.
A great man once said, I don't know karate, but I know crazy. Okay? And that's Hank.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I finally looked at that white helmet up there, Scott.
Yeah.
You guys?
Yeah.
I turned it around. You know whose signature, whose helmet that is?
No.
Lance Allworth.
No way.
I'm going, I didn't even know I had it.
Wow. How about the one that's over your shoulder? The one that's the one that without the face mask.
That's the one I wore my rookie year.
Yeah. Alex, what were you saying?
No, the Grumpy Old Men moniker. Why I laughed at it was not because of the name. It was because I was surprised that Kurt is actually cool with it.
He wasn't.
Oh, he's not.
Oh, okay.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
He got overruled.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, there's no way Kurt agreed to that name. No way.
Guess which word he was not okay with?
Old?
Yeah, right. The grumpy part, he was fine.
Yeah. Yeah, the one time we had Kurt on this podcast and we had him use Zoom, he was like, this works perfectly. I don't know what you're talking about. Couldn't hear him. Barely see him. Grainy. And he's like, this is great. I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, there's no way this guy's going to be go with Grumpy Old Men podcast.
Well, we're going to tell some stories. You're going to hear some things that people have never heard. And we're going to have a lot of fun, and you might even learn something. So
yeah, I think it's going to be really great. Hank Bauer is here on a Thursday afternoon. Hank, what do you think of the story today that the Seattle Seahawks are contemplating signing Antonio Brown? I personally love this story because I look at Antonio Brown like I look at a Le'Veon Bell, like he's a complete and utter pain in the ass who is probably going to get one last shot. And when you get one last shot, if you can get it with the right coach, it might work out for you. In the case of Le'Veon Bell, you go from a disaster with the Jets to a very, very secure place like Kansas City with a great coach like Andy Reid. And if you're Antonio Brown, you show up in the mess that is the Raiders, and you're a part of it, by the way, big part of it. And you find an opportunity here at the end to possibly connect with Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson. I mean, you got one last shot here. And if there was one coach, one quarterback, one place, I think Antonio Brown in Seattle could be really good. What do you think?
Well, I'm rooting for Antonio Brown, the person, because he's been a train wreck, right? He's not right. There's something that needs to be fixed in his life, obviously. So I'm rooting for him, the person. And if you're going to the right environment, that is the perfect environment for him. And this is last chance you. This is that junior college down in Mississippi, right? After this, he's done. He's cooked. So go ahead.
How many chances does a guy like this get to have?
Well, you keep getting them until you've exhausted every possibility. And I think he's at that point in the NFL.
Browner, I think you answer your question is what Hank said earlier about the speed of the Kansas City Chiefs. Antonio Brown gets a shot as long as he runs a sub 4.40. Like the day he goes over 4.4, maybe I'm exaggerating, but the day he goes over 4.5, ain't nobody ever going to look at him again.
Yeah, you can't coach that. And that's a rare thing. He's a rare talent. But again, I'm hoping for the person to get fixed, And you mentioned it perfectly. Going to a place with that coach and that quarterback in Seattle, if you can't do it there.
But this is the same guy who left a super structured situation in Pittsburgh, wanted out of there, got out of there, went to a chaotic situation.
Whoa. Super structured in Pittsburgh?
You don't think that's a structured organization from top to bottom?
No.
Really?
You think
Share.
You think Mike Tomlin has it all zipped up?
I think Mike Tomlin was the right coach for those players because those guys needed to be outspoken. They needed to have space to move around and maneuver. You didn't hear about these things from Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell till Le'Veon Bell.
John, some people / players, they don't actually need space. They need discipline, they need structure, and they need to want to accept that they need to change. Okay? And you just mentioned it. That wasn't to me the place he was going to get those things. I think Seattle is the place he gets those things.
I mean, he had it in New England, and it didn't work in New England.
Again, you can't change. You can't change the player unless he wants to get changed.
I completely disagree that he needs structure, that he needs a coach that's going to tell him what to do. He needs a place like Chad Ochocinco had in Cincinnati. You're just going to let him do him and hope that he doesn't do anything stupid off the field, and you just got to let him go because you can't bring in structure. It worked out pretty damn well for him for a long time.
Yeah, okay.
For a long time. And then he went to New England. And he was terrible because he didn't respond to the structure and Bill Belichick and Tom Brady.
I don't know Antonio Brown, so I can't speak to his. I just based on what he's done, I don't know.
I think that more than anything for him, he got to decide he wants to be part of a team. Mm-hmm. Some guys just don't want to be parts of teams. And I'll give you an example. I look at Hank. I know you weren't watching this year at all, but in the NBA. Dwight Howard wins with the Lakers because he takes on a role, whereas the first time Dwight Howard was with the Lakers, it was because he thought he was Superman and everything had to be about him. Can Antonio Brown, this is my question, can he go be part of somebody's team?
I hope he can, yes. I think he can. I'm rooting for him. How's that?
I like it. I'm very curious to see because his suspension comes up here real soon, and then somebody's going to have a chance to sign him. And I'll bet you that I'll bet you that Seattle's not the only team. That might be the team we're hearing about, but they may not be the only team.
I mean, if Devs Bryant is getting another chance in Baltimore, I mean, there's chances all around as long as you could still compete. That's really what it comes down to.
But Devs Bryant lost his job because of injury, though.
And speaking of Seattle, how about that's on the late window Sunday, Seattle at Arizona. So we get Russell Wilson against Kyler Murray, right? And the teams that surround him, which I think is a great game. Also, the late window is the game I'm doing, KC at Denver. Sunday Night Football, Tampa at Las Vegas. That to me,
I'm curious to see that one too.
And I can't wait to see it after doing the Tampa game last week and what they did to Green Bay. Monday Night Football, John Browner's Bears. At the LA Rams.
Yep.
March to the Super Bowl, Hank. March to the Super Bowl.
On this show, we don't say Bears versus Rams. We say Aaron Donald versus Khalil Mack.
It's the brawl for it all.
I should mention the early window, both 5-0 teams, Pittsburgh and Tennessee, may be the game of the week. Yep. And that's also on Sports USA Media. Larry Kahn's doing it with Mark Carrier.
We got 2 minutes. Can I ask Hank a question? This is not a particular to the Vikings, but it is kind of. Do you think they'll never admit it? Obviously, do you think teams tank on purpose because the Vikings just traded away their only good defensive lineman that they just traded for in the offseason?
Yeah,
and I mean they're a mess. Do teams intentionally tank? Obviously, they'll never admit it.
No, I've never seen a competitive environment in any franchise. Now, talk to me in about a month and a half,
when there's 4 games left.
When there's 4 games left. Yeah. At that point, I think that, you can start accepting who you are and your fate and saying, well, let's play these guys And if we lose, we lose. We're going to find out about players, and it's all about getting ready for next year. Translation, we give a crap less if we lose. We get a higher draft pick, and we get to get players' experience and find out about people.
I would bring it up just because it's been a long time since we've had.
No, you're not taking this
suck for luck. This is the draft to suck, right? This is the draft that you want to suck, to get Trevor Lawrence.
You want that quarterback from Clemson.
Hank, but is it really the right thing to do for your entire organization to suck for one guy? Because where's Andrew Luck right now?
He's retired, happy and healthy and wealthy. So
right. Not playing football.
Right. No, and the Colts have Phillip Rivers.
There you go.
All right. Hey, Hank, it's great to see you. Great to be with you. Can't wait for Grumpy Old Men. We're a few weeks away, but we're in the planning phases. So happy to talk to you today. Have a great broadcast this weekend. We'll talk to you next week.